Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, several things are going on tonight with this show. For 30 years, those words signaled the start of America's nightly ritual. Johnny Carson spent decades as the calm, unflappable center of late-night television. Every night, millions of people tuned in expecting smooth monologues, easy laughs, and a host who was in total, absolute control. But behind that polished, Midwestern surface were moments that went far beyond the boundaries of television charm. The Tonight Show stage was often a battlefield disguised as a playground. Behind the curtain, there were power struggles, shattered egos, and deep-seated resentments. Tonight, we aren't looking at the classic bits or the animal segments. We are looking at the most intense confrontations tied to Carson's name, from the cold silence that ended a legendary friendship to the one off-camera encounter that pushed the king of late night closer to a physical breaking point than he had ever been in his life. Welcome to Royal Time of Hollywood. Today, we're stepping into the moments that changed how the world saw the king of late night. The Joan Rivers betrayal. In the early years of her career, Joan Rivers didn't just like Johnny Carson. She relied on him for her professional survival. At a time when female comedians were rarely given a national stage, Carson gave her repeated spots, essentially handpicking her for stardom. Over time, she became more than a guest. She became the permanent guest host. Many in the industry saw her as the natural heir to the throne. But in 1986, the crown slipped. When Rivers was offered her own show on the fledgling Fox network, she made a tactical error that turned into a lifelong exile. Afraid that the news would leak and Carson would block the deal, she stayed silent until the announcement was made public. From her perspective, it was a rushed business decision. From Carson's, it was a knife in the back. When she finally called him to explain, Carson reportedly cut her off mid-sentence and hung up. That was the last time they ever spoke. A connection built over 20 years disappeared in 20 seconds. Rivers was banned from The Tonight Show for 26 years, a ban so absolute that it outlasted Carson himself. The father figure had become the ultimate executioner. Don Rickles and the Broken Box. Don Rickles was the only man alive who could insult Johnny Carson and get away with it, usually. But one night, the comedy legend went a step too far without saying a word. While guest hosting for an absent Johnny, Rickles handled Carson's personal wooden cigarette box and accidentally broke the lid. For anyone else, it was a minor prop. For Carson, it was a violation of his space. When he returned to find the damage, he didn't call Rickles' dressing room. He decided to humiliate him on live television. Rickles was filming his sitcom, CPO Sharky, on a nearby NBC set. Carson, followed by a camera crew, marched onto Rickles' set mid-take. The audience was stunned. Rickles looked genuinely nervous, his usual bravado melting away as a stern, unsmiling Carson confronted him with the broken box. While they eventually turned it into a comedy bit, the message was sent to the entire NBC lot. I can walk into your world anytime I want. I am the king. The threat, Wayne Newton. If the Rickles incident was a performance of power, the conflict with Wayne Newton was raw, unadulterated reality. For years, Carson used Newton as a punchline, often questioning his masculinity or mocking his Mr. Las Vegas image. For the audience, it was just another joke. For Wayne Newton, it was a smear campaign. In 1980, Newton had finally had enough. He didn't call his agent or a lawyer. He drove to the NBC studios in Burbank, walked past security, and barged into Carson's private office. There were no cameras. There was no studio audience to laugh away the tension. According to Newton, he told Carson in no uncertain terms that if the jokes didn't stop, there would be a physical altercation right there in the office. The tension rose to a point where staff outside the room feared a fight was about to break out. Carson, a man who usually controlled every variable in his life, was faced with a real threat. The result? The jokes stopped overnight. It was the only time a guest truly forced the king to back down. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to check out the other stories and shocking updates on our channel. We've covered many incredible celebrity journeys, tragic endings, and untold Hollywood secrets that you don't want to miss. Binge watch our previous videos to discover more surprising facts, emotional stories, and where your favorite stars are today. Your support helps us bring you more powerful content like this, so don't forget to explore, watch more, and stay tuned for the next video. The silent protest of Raymond Burr. Not every fight involved shouting. Sometimes, the most violent thing you can do to a legendary host is to simply stop existing for them. Raymond Burr, the iconic star of Perry Mason, was a frequent target of Carson's jokes regarding his weight. Burr was a private, dignified man who found the constant mocking to be beneath the dignity of a show. He repeatedly asked through intermediaries for the jokes to stop. Carson ignored him. In response, Burr didn't make a scene. He simply vanished. He stopped accepting invitations, leaving a noticeable hole in the guest rotation. It was a Cold War that Carson could never win because you cannot control someone who refuses to play the game. The drink in the face, Jacqueline Susann. Perhaps the most visceral, off-camera reaction came from author Jacqueline Susann. During an interview, Carson had been uncharacteristically dismissive of her work, specifically Valley of the Dolls, and made cutting remarks about her appearance. Susann stayed professional on the air, but she was simmering. At a post-show gathering, she approached Carson. Without a word of warning, she threw a Black Russian cocktail directly into his face. In an instant, the most powerful man in television was soaked and speechless. Like Rivers, she was never invited back. But for one moment, the mask was stripped off the king by a woman who refused to be the butt of the joke. The final confrontation. As Carson prepared to retire in 1992, many expected a smooth exit. But on one of his final nights, a younger comedian suggested that Carson's style was becoming a relic of the past. It wasn't a violent fight in the physical sense, but it was a violent moment for Carson's ego. He didn't just disagree. He defended the genre he had built with a sharp, icy precision that reminded everyone why he had lasted 30 years. Even at the end, Johnny Carson was a man who demanded the last word. His career was a masterclass in charm, but these confrontations remind us that the man behind the desk was a complex, often temperamental titan who guarded his throne with an iron fist. What do you think was the most shocking moment? Was Joan Rivers been justified, or was Johnny too sensitive? Let us know in the comments below. Before you head out, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to Royal Time of Hollywood with the bell notification on for more deep dives into the legendary history of late night.